Hi there and welcome back to my channel. This is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video, we're discussing The Dry, written by Jane Harper. It's a mystery, and it's the first book to feature Aaron Falk as protagonist. This almost feels like a gothic mystery to me. And with gothic mysteries, most people think shadows and gloom and darkness, nighttime even, maybe rich countryside, thick trees, forest even, that kind of thing. Houses that are dark and spooky and dusty, that kind of thing in a gothic mystery. But for me, this mystery feels gothic despite it being set against a backdrop of severe drought in summer. There's no houses that are dark and gloomy, there is no shadows, there's no thick forest, but the characters, the way characters react, the way the setting feels like a character, and it amps up all this emotion in the characters. There's so much tension in this setting with the characters that one little thing could trigger huge sparks in the whole community. We've got a threat of that with the characters. We have a threat of fire in the environment because severe drought. All that just plays in this story and just ramps up everything emotionally. And I think that, and also the way the investigation plays out and the way the characters, interact with each other, that makes this almost feel like a gothic mystery to me. It's an interesting story. It's not perfect in my view, but it's interesting and engaging. And I think also a great exploration into just rural and outback life, small towns trying to survive. That's what I like about this book. Aaron Falk is our protagonist in this story. He's a federal police officer. He kind of works on the financial side of things in the federal police. And the reason he's going back to his childhood home in Kiwara is because of a funeral. A guy he was friends with when they were teenagers. That guy is now dead, and so is his family. He's going there to the funerals. There's 3 funerals all at once. But he's going there also because this guy's parents wrote him a letter and asked him to come to the funerals. Make sure you're there. They basically demanded he come anyway. There's history with characters in this book. History with our main character, with one of the deceased, his friend from all those years ago, and other characters in the town that are still there. That plays out in the story. So in this story we have 2 mysteries. We have an historic mystery that happened when our main character was a teenager and still living in this town. We have the current mystery, the deaths of his one-time friend and his family. Now I won't dive into too many details about certain things in this book, about certain things of occurrences in this story, because you can't in videos sometimes. But in this book, in the present day mystery, his friend, one of the deceased, he's suspected of being the culprit, of being the reason why himself and his family members have deceased. So let's say that and leave it there. What I like about how this book is structured is we don't have past present narrative chapter splits. I enjoy that in this story. The past is there in flashbacks, little flashback scenes in the present day narrative. I like how that plays out because sometimes those flashback scenes are just like memories. We have a present day scene, we flash back for maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs, then go back to present day. And I enjoy that because it means those flashbacks are more meaningful. They link directly to what's happening in the present day. So well done to use that choice in structuring this book. When Aaron Falk returns to this town, not everybody wants him there. It creates great tension in the town and great tension in the story. The reason for that tension is because in the past mystery, one of Aaron's friends was found drowned in a river, in a creek. And many people in the town blamed Aaron. They thought Aaron was responsible, that Aaron was a killer basically. It drove Aaron and his father out of the town when Aaron was still a teenager. There are still people in the town who believe what happened was Aaron's fault all those years ago. They blame him still. And that plays out in the story so well. I mean, it's very rich, very emotive. There's all this emotion and tension that's amplified from the drought because, people's livelihoods in this town are suffering because of the drought. The conditions in the area, they need rain, haven't had rain for so long. Everything is so dry, and it's like their emotions are so dry because of it as well. That's all played out in the story very well. When you read this book, the tension, it's almost visceral. You can feel it, you can touch it. And with the characters, there are some stereotypes in this book with characters, but I think a lot of characters in this book feel so genuine and so real. They feel truly Australian. They do feel rural. They do feel like they fit this small town. And a lot of things that happen in this book feel like small town things to me. Small town Australia things. Because in some small towns, you have kind of different undercurrents in those towns, especially when they're way out in the outback, when they're very removed from kind of big cities or big country cities even. It seems like sometimes, old kind of insults, old feuds in those very small towns linger for many years, decades even. You have kind of old hurts coming to the surface so quickly. People have long memories in towns like that. I'm not saying that, it's only small towns that have those things, but in those tiny towns, when they're so far removed from everything else, those things linger a long time. That's my view anyway. So in this book, Aaron investigates the present day mystery because the parents of the deceased ask him to. He's meant to be there as a kind of a spectator, not active. There is already a police officer in the town who's investigating in an active way. Aaron's meant to be passive in that, but he becomes very active, I think, in this book. So despite the fact that we hear in this book time and time again that he's passive, he's really not. He's involved in the action all the time. And that just ramps up more that emotion and tension between other characters in the story. In my view, I don't know if that's deliberate or not. Maybe just make him active in the investigation, because saying he's passive is really not. It feels redundant in the book. The mystery in this book is good. It's not amazing, but it's strong. There are twists and turns in the book. They're not all that surprising. There is use of red herring in the story, but it's not that surprising even when it happens. I think the best thing about this mystery is just the way it plays out with the characters. I think the characters make this mystery more engaging, not the mystery itself, if that makes sense. So in my view, the mystery could have been stronger in this book, could have been tightened. But for a debut book, it's strong enough, I think. It just shows the author can structure a mystery because the mystery's structured okay. It just needs better surprises. I think it just needs more kind of hooks along the way in this mystery to really engage the reader more. But this book has a huge fan base. It has many people who love the book. It has spawned other books in the series. There's a movie based on the book. This book has won awards. A lot of things about this book that people love. In my view, it's a great debut, but it's not amazing. Aaron, who's our protagonist, look, I'm not sure if he's an amazing character yet, an amazing protagonist. I'm on the fence about that. There are things about him I like. I like that he's determined. He's clever as an investigator. I like that he can find and hone in on little clues here and there. I like the way he interacts with people. But is that because he was in a town he grew up with as a child, talking to people he knew from his childhood? Did that make it different in this book? What would it be like in a strange setting for him? I guess having him in a strange setting may cement my viewpoint of this character. I think it's always different to have a character in somewhere it's familiar to somewhere where it's strange. Sometimes an author's better writing a character in familiar settings, not strange settings. But I don't know about this character. I've got a feeling that I'll enjoy this character more in a strange setting, not a setting where he grew up. Reiko is the police officer in this town investigating the present day crime, and also working side by side with the main character, Aaron. I like this character. He feels like he suits the setting. He feels real. His actions feel real. His dialogue, the way he carries himself, his interactions with other characters in this book, everything about him feels real. And through him, we get a lot of understanding about all the tensions in the town and how hard it is for this character to balance those tensions, not to get people riled up too much, to still have law and order in this small town, but also just let things go a little bit to keep the peace. There's that balance he has to do in this book. And I like the way it plays out in this story. McMurdo owns the pub in this small town. What I like about this character is he's not a local. He's been in the town for about 10 years or so, and in his own point of view, doesn't make him a local yet. And it's interesting because we have a different viewpoint from this character than other characters in the town who were born there. And I think that's the reason why this character's there, to give that different viewpoint. To have somebody who's like in the middle. He can be kind of like a referee between Aaron, who's returning to this small town and the locals who are still living there. All those tensions that are playing out, a lot of that happens in this pub setting. And McMurdo can be kind of that bystander who kind of tries to keep the peace, tries to keep everybody calm. And I like that about this character because he can see both sides. He can see from the side of the locals and from new people coming in. Good use of character. A good thing to have a character like this in a book like this as well, because it adds different viewpoints and adds kind of like a balanced viewpoint from my point of view. While I did enjoy this read a lot, it's not amazing, it's not perfect. I rate this a 4 out of 5. A lot to like in this book. I like the setting. For me, the setting is brilliant. We have this small town in a drought that's so hot, so dry, and the characters as well. All the characters I didn't love to the same level. I mean, the protagonist, for example, not too sure about how I feel about him as a leading character in a book or a series, but other characters in this book are well done. We have character emotions and reactions, not just to other characters in the book, but to their environment. We have the environment acting like a character in itself, driving and changing emotions and feelings with characters in the story. I like how that plays out in this book. That's why I think of this like a gothic mystery, because that setting acts like another character and kind of drives and changes and twists how people feel and think in the story. On my channel, I review many mysteries. If you enjoy mysteries, check out my channel and subscribe. On the screen now is a link to another video for a book I'm sure you'll enjoy.